Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Just got another weekly update for you all. This week was a strange one and kind of a good example of, how everything's not going to certainly be perfect throughout over the years with powerlifting. And sometimes you're just going to have to adapt to what your schedule will let you do, especially if you're trying to go for a little bit more balance as far as your lifestyle goes. So this week was my birthday week, and it ended up, changing some plans around, which, is totally fun. Got to see a 20th anniversary showing of Napoleon Dynamite, and the guy who plays Napoleon and Pedro in that movie did like a stand-up bit afterwards, so it was really cool. But because of that, my gym schedule got kind of thrown for a loop, especially trying to visit some family over the weekend. But we make the best of it and still get some work done. So as you can see, that was 470 pounds for my sets of 8 on day 1. I will say the squats were probably on the easier end compared to everything else, how they've been leading into the week. And then I upped my Bulgarian split squats to, I believe this is 170 pounds for my sets of 12, and I was just absolutely fried after those sets. I've been progressing pretty aggressively with this lift. I do foresee probably this next week that I'll have to take a step back, or at least not really back, but progress a little more slowly on what would be more average for a progression with a lift. But I'm overall happy with how these day 1 lifts went. If I could change anything, I would probably, try and get a little bit more depth on these split squats. But as you can see, I'm getting, relatively close to my knee touching the ground, and with my setup, it's pretty unstable. So I'll give myself some slack for that. Next up, I think we have day 2. So how my schedule went this week, I actually did day 1, day 2, and in day 2 I took some exercises from day 3, and then I put like half of day 3 on day 2 and the other half on to day 4, which I ended up regretting certainly, but that's what I did to try and get some of the major volume in. Here we are, day 2 overhead press. I believe these are 70s for my sets of 10 on dumbbell overhead press. Feeling really strong with these. I'm thinking, it should benefit my delt. I've talked about this in the past, tearing my left delt almost over a year and a half ago at this point, but I can still feel the kind of propensity to favor the one side over the other. And then those were immediately followed with regular dumbbell bench press, which this week I used, I'm wanting to say I used 95s or 100s, right? I'm wanting to say 100s, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to look on that rack over there. Either way, it was in that range, still relatively easy, but doing my best to get a good squeeze on the top of these, and following those overhead presses, certainly getting some solid work in with the dumbbell work, and hopefully that pays some dividends whenever I switch back to benching more often. And I think there's plenty of room to keep pushing the dumbbell work, even with the upped weight. So I've progressed the dumbbell work every week. I am also progressing my dips. So last week I did 4 sets of 15, if I remember correctly. This week I was able to do 4 sets of 20, and that's after the dumbbell overhead press, dumbbell bench, and incline flies as well. So, pressing power's going well. My weight is trending down, so that's certainly going to help the dips situation. But overall, feeling pretty strong. Now, here we are on day 4. So I was pretty relaxed on my diet this week, so I overate, which that's totally fine. You just have to stay out of your head whenever you're, talking to yourself about being okay with, breaking a diet for special occasions. This was, like I said, a special occasion for the week. So I'm not going to, be super strict. And this coming week, I'll get right back at it. But I could feel the change in schedule on day 4, because usually I do this on a Saturday, but instead I was doing this on Friday after work, and I was just sluggish, right? So if you look at some of these reps, not that they were super hard or super slow by any stretch of the imagination, but they're definitely harder than they should have been, and that kind of carried through throughout the workout. So overall still easy enough with the pause squats. And those were followed by a pin press on the bench. So check this out here, up to 350 pounds. We've been progressing this nice and slowly for sure. And I think it's going to pay off. I think I mentioned going into nationals, I had a little bit of a pec strain. And I think that resulted from pressing things a little bit too much. And the nice thing is my next plan meet isn't until nationals of next year. So I have all the time in the world. We're just inching it up 10 pounds a week at a time. And, as you'll see, these move pretty well. I can also tell I'm losing weight because on this pin setting, I'm actually not touching my chest, whereas before I was very lightly, but still touching my chest on the pin presses. So there are those, still moving quite well. And then the last thing that I videoed was actually a single leg press that was supposed to be on day 3. Like I said, I pulled the main lifts from day 3 and split them off into day 2 and day 4. And, doing these, I upped the weight by, 40 pounds. I'm up to 4 plates. I'll certainly have to slow down that progression as well, but I didn't wear my knee sleeves, so these still move pretty well for sets of 12 on single-legged leg press for that amount of weight. I know I've certainly never single-legged 4 plates on the leg press, so that's kind of fun. During the off-season, you have to take those wins where you can and really pick and choose what you want to focus on, because you can't just be all squat, bench, deadlift all the time. That's a great recipe for burning yourself out. So overall, pretty good week. It was a strange week. I'm ready to get back to a normal schedule on this coming week and get back to my diet. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. As always, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And until next time, happy lifting.